Hello and welcome to another episode of the Toon in 10. I'm Adam, that's Pete, that's Vince, and we're here to take you through one of the more traumatic episodes of the season so far. Okay, we've just lost again to Bournemouth at home. It was horrendous. So first half, we're going to start with Steve McClaren. Where did it all go wrong? Time at the ready, go! I don't know what to say. I'm going
to open it by saying the only thing that makes me happy about this situation is that I called it at the start of the
remind the viewers of your prediction before was it before the season started?
Before the season started, my prediction was a relegation battle where we would just about stay up and McClaren would be sacked by March. That was my prediction. The thing is, as much I'm happy that I made the right prediction, I still, even at the time, wasn't sure whether I believed my negativity. I did think the signings seemed pretty decent. What has happened is just a disgrace, and for me, I don't even blame McClaren as such. McClaren's, pardon me French, he's always been shit. He was always gonna be shit. Who I blame for this absolutely is Charnley. He pursued a manager who was doing terribly with Derby for 6 months. He kept pursuing him. McClaren kept on turning us down. We still appointed him. And we took a manager who had a loser mentality, give him a team who had a loser mentality. Where was it going to go right? It was never going to go right.
Vince?
I was optimistic. I know I'm generally an optimistic person in my approach to life and the Toon, which quite often means I'm drastically wrong with the Toon.
I'm depressed.
Yeah. But I
thought I'd be right this time.
I did. I was hopeful, given the combination of somebody that we had pursued for a long time, naively believing that somebody who was in such a high position, if a Premier League football club such as Charnley, a multi-billion-dollar industry, would somehow know more about it than I would, that we would work with this head coach, because I'd mentioned a couple of times at the start of the season what I liked and hoped in McClaren was seeing that players would progress, whereas my view under Pardew is that after an initial period players regressed,
yes,
which is kind of what's being borne out at Crystal Palace right now with Pardew. Actually, initial bounce, then severe regression, players going there and getting worse. It hasn't happened. At the match on Saturday, it was the worst I think I've ever seen us play.
Strong.
It was terrible. It was turgid. The atmosphere was awful. The players were terrible. No fight. I don't know what we do.
I mean, from my perspective, I was underwhelmed when he came in. For me, his last 5 years have been underwhelming as well, performance-wise. Wolfsburg, nothing to speak of. Went back to AZ, nothing to speak of. Nottingham Forest, very poor. Derby, poor, failed in his objectives. Yeah, and so I always felt that he came in. I'm rehashing old stuff here, but he came in not earning that position. Yet we hired him, having him turn us down a couple of times, and not only did he not earn the position of head coach, manager, whatever you want to call it, but he was given a place on the board as well, which created a conflict of interest, which is why I think we've got to this point. They had 18 days break, which would have been the perfect time to get a new man in. Instead, they went to Spain, and that was the La Manga, and right, we're going to right all the wrongs, right, heads on now, lads, 12 cup finals, all this kind of stuff. Season starts here, and it's like, no. 16 league defeats so far this season. This has not come overnight. And to be honest, I'm quite shocked that this, now I think we're in a position where almost everyone is in agreement that he should go, and that's the end. As recording this now, Monday night, he hasn't gone yet, but I'm sure it's around the corner, and I hope it's around the corner. But for me, I'm surprised that it's taken this long for everyone to kind of catch up and think, oh shit, we're in a lot of trouble here.
You know why it is? That's why I think the Bournemouth game in particular was one of...
Because it was a winnable game,
no, we've done that all season. We've done rubbish, and then McClaren's kept his job by getting a performance and by getting a win. He's tended to do that all season. I thought Bournemouth were going to win.
I think the back-to-back victories of Liverpool and Spurs were probably the most dangerous 6 points we've got all season, because if he lost those, and that got him through Christmas. That got him through Christmas, and we're where we are. And a new man could have had an extra 7-8 games to sort us out.
Forgive me if I'm wrong, what I remember earlier on this season when he finally decided to play Mitrovic and Perez, and you thought, bang, all right,
Something's
that's
clicked there.
on. What happened?
Yeah.
What happened to the point where
He's starting Riviere.
Well, that's his decision making, and he's got a squad. He's got a squad, and he's starting with him, and he's starting with Gouffran, and he's going backwards, and he's got the squad there. He hasn't got the defence, arguably, but in the rest of the team, he has. He's the one making these decisions. He's
Why
the
bring in Doumbia? Why?
What's the point? Or why leave Mitrovic
I
on the
got to the
bench?
match 4 minutes late because I went for a couple of pies. I was tempted not to go to the match.
He came in for some pies.
He didn't go.
He came in for some pies.
And
And he didn't go.
I thought I couldn't believe Riviere was starting.
Riviere.
Mr. Toad.
Well, that's the end of the first half. Stay tuned, folks, because it's only going to get worse. See you after this. Right. Welcome back after the half time. So, second half, let's just presume he's gone. I think journalists close to the club are very much expecting him to be sacked this week. So Newcastle, where do we go from here? Can we get out of this? Who do we get in? How does the next 10 games play out? Time at the ready? Go! I'll start this. I think for the first time in a long time, we've been linked to a lot of managers who actually I really wouldn't mind us getting in. I mean, whether some of them are probably infeasible over others, but I think when you look at the likes of, say, Moyes, who I think is a very possible candidate. Rodgers, less so maybe, but then you've got Rafa Benitez who could do an interim job. He's got a history of that. There's a few names flying around. I mean, Nigel Pearson, to be honest, I'm not too fussed, but I don't think he'd be the right
He's
man
been
for
in
us.
before as assistant.
He has, but I think he's quite volatile. I don't think it's what...
You're an ostrich.
I'm an ostrich. But I think for the first time in a long time, I mean, usually when Newcastle are looking for a manager, it's we've got you get George Graham comes out from nowhere, Kerbishley. He's always in amongst it. We're often Peelers, yeah. We're often linked with a lot of just maybe unglamorous and often many managers just complete dross. But for the first time in a long time, we've actually got options where we wouldn't have to pay compensation, which I think will play very heavily into Mike Ashley's thinking in that. But if we can get rid of him, I'm optimistic about who we might be able to get in. Actually, although I still think it's far too late for the record. I think it's too. I think we've played our cards. The second McClaren cards potentially too late.
So with that in mind, I think we've got options on paper. In reality, have we got options? I don't think we do. I don't see why anyone would come in. Why would you want to put, ultimately, you're going to have to do a hell of a job to turn this round, otherwise you've got a relegation on your CV. There's no point. Why would you? I wouldn't. They don't need the money. They don't need the stress. Their argument is it's a no-lose situation, because they would be like, oh, well, it wasn't my fault that went down, this was McClaren's fault. But why would you put it? Because it does. So I just don't... The only person I could see coming in would be someone like Harry Redknapp, someone who's just wants a little bit of exposure. Yeah. That it's someone.
And of course, he's already got the relegation on his CV, hasn't he?
Yeah, so he's done that. So he's already got that, and you'll get a nice payout.
What really worries me about Newcastle is when we last went down, we had characters in the team, and we had good characters, and we had young players that would form a backbone who could do it in the Championship. If we go down, and like Adam, I do believe we are going down. I do believe we'll go down at Sunderland's expense. Sunderland will stay up. They bought well. They sorted out the defence. If you look at managers that keep teams up, and this is why you're right, we should have got somebody in January. What's the first thing to do is sort out the defence. Pulis went to Crystal Palace, went to West Brom, sorted the defence.
And build as a platform.
First thing you do is get your...
We've got the second worst defence in the league at the minute.
Side 3 defenders, sorted your clean sheets. Yeah. We haven't done that. I think we're going down. We're going down with no relegation clauses, massive wages, no characters.
I mean, Shelvey and Townsend, I wouldn't be surprised if Shelvey and Townsend go to Borough. That's my next prediction. I think in terms of us going down, I like it for good. I think I don't know. I'm not going to say right now we're going down. I know you. I think.
Adam made a good point earlier, though.
I think
Didn't
there's
he,
a
about
chance.
win percentage. How many wins do we need to get
But
to stay up?
sometimes it work. We've got Sunderland and Norwich. We have genuinely
Swansea,
got those
Palace.
to play. Right. We have got the teams, the games we need to get us out of there. Ultimately, it really is, for me, the derby. We lose a derby, we are 100% down. We win the derby,
What's the
gives us a chance.
atmosphere going to be
Gives us a
like in
chance.
2 weeks?
It's horrible. I don't even want to watch it.
I think I'm going to have to get.
love it. Sunderland will love
No,
it.
I think I'm going to have to get vodka drunk before that game to just get through it, because I just think the tension will be
horrible.
unbelievable. And I think there's one thing for sure. Pete's right. There's 6-pointers everywhere, and you know that's the only saving grace. And it is 10 games. It's not
just
8
infuriating. It's
or
just
7 or
infuriating.
6. It's maybe just enough to have a glimmer of hope. But I still just think we've done it too late, and it should have. He shouldn't have had the 18 days in the La Manga trip. I think that's a massive error, and I think.
Even then,
But I still think, as we're a Premier League football team, as things stand, and someone like Moyes, who is looking for a route back into English football,
You'll get it though. You'll get it. You'll get it from someone else. You'll get it.
Well,
You'll
say
get
that,
it.
but
Turn around the managers,
You'll get a
you'll
clean
get it.
state, and you'll get a transfer
Palace
budget.
teams like Palace, Pardew will probably be gone from Palace.
I just don't.
I don't
see
know.
why anyone
I
would come
don't.
in.
I still think we're a draw, despite everything. I still think it's. I totally hear what you're saying.
Well,
it's not
I
ideal
think you're
circumstances, and we know that there's poison. You know, getting rid of the
I think you're doing
manager.
a classic Vince, and you're going to be depressed.
And that's time up. I mean, obviously, regardless of who we get in manager-wise, there's poison throughout the club. It's Ashley's culpable. Lee Charnley absolutely has to walk out the door. because-
As does Carr.
well, this is it. It's the conflict of interest that you've got the members on the board who vouch for McClaren that are ultimately sealing their own coffin by voting a sack for him.
Do
and
you
stuff like that.
think
Do you know what I mean?
Ashley's been taken for a ride by the people he's put around him then? Because he's put a hell of a lot of money into the club this season. Do you think we're taking the piss out of him?
Well, yeah, and any other business, I mean, it's a disgrace. I mean, Christ, 80 million. Anyway, that's a whole thing. I mean, we go down, the budget on this is going to be slashed.
You won't be able to wear his hat anymore. It'll be scrapped.
Be no
Absolute
lights.
scrap. Just be a radio show.
The tuned in two.
Yeah.
1 minute and a half. It'll just be proper quick fire. To like, McClaren shit.
We'll have to put ads on.
There'll be syndicated betting. Sign up for a free bet.
There'll be no free mugs.
No mugs anymore. No giveaways.
Anyway,
So
well.
enjoy it while you can. Enjoy it while you can. Right. Well, let's call time on that, and let's. Oh God, man. Don't worry. Let's all just wallow in it together. Right. I've been Adam. That's been Pete. That's been Vince. You've been watching the Toon in 10. Get sharing around all your social networks, and we'll see you next time. Cheers, everyone. Bye. Bye.